just remind you my shit is just a little bit out of bounds in this motherfucker, you feel me?
Anything below the
Yeah.
belt, as far as chakras go, are dealing with things that are purely physical in nature, shaping your desires as a young child until the point of maturity when you reach about the age of 21, and you're dealing with the heart chakra, and you start to deal with love, and you start to deal with the love that you receive from your mother, and you start to see that reflected in the women or the woman that you decide to choose. And so thus the heart chakra is not only finding love and reflection in another, but knowing yourself so deeply and intimately, that you can see that reflected in another person. And you also deal with your trauma, because it's about self-love. It's about self-love and self-knowledge. And that is the true, where the true work is done. This gets you access to all the higher chakras. You start in the heart chakra. You deal with all this self-knowledge. You deal with all your your trauma. Once you move past your trauma, you you could start dealing with higher concepts, because then you get access to the fourth dimension, or access to the fifth dimension. Going through the heart, getting over that, coming to terms, accepting the shit. But then also, while dealing with your past life trauma, or not past life, but your past trauma and stuff like that, you can also deal with magic. So all the while you're learning magic and stuff like that, this is the sphere that you're in, which would be the sphere of Had, which is also a representation of the desert. Just your desires coming to fruition, pretty much. Your desires being formed, and then through Yesid they are brought down to Malkuth. And so when we deal with this from a higher nature standpoint, or a standpoint of being in a higher state and being at a level of pure consciousness and coming and projecting the body, these terrestrial chakras will only get you so far, as well as the high chakras. They'll get you exactly where you want to be, but eventually you go beyond the need for them. Different stages of the journey allow you to perfectly annotate what part and understanding that you're supposed to gauge from this, going through these chakras through life, because you could raise the kundalini and get through all that shit at a very, very fast rate of time, come to a very great understanding of yourself without having to wait until you're like 60 to go through all the chakras and then experience that through life and stuff like that. Because no matter what, you have a pathway that you're going to take, and the tree of life helps you to understand these pathways that we take based on the chakras, which are states of awareness that we enter, which just represent the different periods of our life: adolescence, adulthood, and then old age. And so if you look at it in accordance, or as something that is a complete system, rather than looking at everything as different parts, or something that is different, or different sciences, look at it as the same thing, it makes it a lot easier to understand, because it is the same thing. And so your state of awareness can be raised to that of what you would be as a as an old person, so to speak, because they're very routine. A lot of old people are very psychic. At least my grandparents are very psychic. I remember I was doing some very terrible, fucked up shit. I was like selling some pills or some shit like that, and like I mean, not terrible fucked up shit, but shit you just do as a young dude, like trying to get money and shit like that, like scamming and fucking like selling drugs, like just what it is, or at least where I came from, And so as a young kid, like, yeah, I did that shit. And my grandma calls me, like, I remember this so fucking distinctly, because I was like, how the fuck did she know to call me? Because I hadn't even made the decision to, like, I was still like in the process of making the decision. That was like the craziest part. And I was like, fuck, all right, shit, I need this money. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna get this money. Like, let's go do this shit. And next thing I know, like, I made the decision, and my grandma was like, hey, nigga, hey, text me, like, hey, you don't need to sell drugs, you stay away from that. Da-da-da-da. It was like I made the decision in my mind. I didn't even go out and really, like, it was that quick, and that deterred me, like, 100%. Because I was like, how the fuck, as I was already on the fence, but it was just like, how the fuck, did my grandmother know, so it's just interesting things that you can put together. I mean, because the part of the journey also that deals with the heart for me was when, I met my daughter's mother, or, one of my daughter's mothers. And, the whole falling in love part, it was very crazy, because what it did was, in that instance, when we got that chance to really delve into, falling in love, I found out a lot about her family and her story, and found, was also delving into my story, but, like, delving into my story let me know so much more about hers, and it helped me to see how, she reflected me in that sense and what I was looking for. And so, it was like, but it was like the opposite. It was very interesting. Like, my mom, she was a heavy drinker. Her dad was a heavy drinker. Her mom was the very successful one, and it was very stable. And my dad was the one who was, successful and stable and things of that nature. And so it's just, it's, I mean, like, our lives directly mirrored each other. Like, it was like the craziest thing. And, shit would happen to where, like, over the course of us being together, it was like 8 years. Over the course of us being together, I would see that, we were living prophecy. I was living prophecy. And I ended up having to, leave that situation due to spiritual reasons, which I don't tell anybody. But, since I'm being personal with, you guys here, I needed a goddess. I needed a sister in particular to do the work that, I'm supposed to do here. And that is just, it's what I needed, And at that time, I, her actually, this is the time when her great grandmother had passed away. And at this time, we're sitting down at the funeral home, and, like, my daughter had just been born, and everybody is coming by, and, like, my daughter's born in March, her mom's born in September, and I'm born in December, on December 4th. She's born on September 15th. My daughter's born on March 9th, right? And so when you look at all the dates, December 4th is the day in fucking Africa that they praise the god Shango, right? Then, September 15th is the day of the worship of Mary, of the festival of Mary of Sorrows, the mother of Jesus, right? And then, of course, Jesus is so said to be born in March, whatever. She's born on March 9th, 33, whatever. I'm just saying that the mathematics and shit just kind of really broke down. And I was like, this is interesting. And, dealing with the whole little Bible mythology and stuff like that, and it just, it just, like, bewildered me to think, what was going on. And so then I started to look, like, after seeing that our lives closely mirrored each other, and then seeing that we kind of, not even just kind of, we fit the symbols of this, or the archetypes of this family, this Jesus family, God, Mary, and then, Jesus, what I'm saying? And I was, this was the point that I was at, what I'm saying? This was the point in my understanding that I was at, just, like, understanding the symbols and things. And I started to, it started to become real for me. It started to be, like, really real, like, down to the point where I could prove it. Like, I was like, this is, and then it wasn't only just, me being able to put myself into, prophecy and show that we are living this mythology, and that, everything is kind of coming together. But, like, at the time we were in the church, like, it was her and my daughter that, she was holding my daughter, and it just, like, I could see it. It was like, it was everyone paying respects to the Madonna, which, if you know anything about the Madonna is the mother and child, the great mother and child, the mother of the sun, and the mother of God, pretty much, and that's what it was showing. Her bloodline, had some stuff to work out, and our blood, my bloodline, I've worked through all that trauma that I've had in my bloodline, and now I'm what I'm seeing is that what happens is we come here to work out these different patterns, you know what I'm saying? And we come here to work these things out in the blood, and to have the experience and the pattern and work that out. And so by me ascending and going to, the next level, that is thus the completion cycle, or that is thus like, how do you say it? Like for this particular line, or for these particular people, it's like not like a redemption, but it's more like a you know, motherfuckers come back and make choices, right? And then continue making choices and continue making choices, and families are shaped over time, and something may happen in a family to where it puts them in a rut, or puts them at a certain state, or certain people puts them at a certain state, and then something has to happen, after so long of them repenting, wanting something to happen, something happens, and they are given a gift, like, um, like one who can see, one who has the potential, that can be able to help them out spiritually, that can be able to connect them to the spirit world. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I am for my people. That's what I am for my family. You know, um, that connection point to heaven. That connection point to the higher worlds and higher realms of understanding, because that's what they know me as. They come to me for those types of things because that's what they know me as. And you know, when I ended up getting out of that situation, and we ended up making the mutual choice to leave each other, um, just growing apart and stuff like that, is just two mutual understandings, two different people going in two different directions. It happens. um, I knew what I needed, and it was definitely a sister, because the energy that I needed, I wasn't getting. The type of love that I needed, I wasn't getting. It wasn't something that was coming from the heart. It wasn't something that was pure. And when I found that in someone else, I was able to do work in the heart at a higher state. I was able to activate powers within her that I had activated, basic psychic powers, basic, reading people's minds, and feelings and impressions. Like when you first start out, it's like feelings and impressions, and then you graduate to like being able to clearly hear what they're saying. It's not just like you feel like, oh, something's fucked up. You're like, oh, did you just call me an asshole? You know what I'm saying? And then it gets to the point where, like, when you really graduate and you could see the world of waves and the spirits, you can see what is on their mind. You can see how the symbols take shape in someone's mind. It, I mean, it's the trippiest thing, man. Like, you can look at someone, right, and they will be viewing you, and while they're viewing you, the symbol of how the energy relates to them, the connection that they've created in their mind, appears. It could be dangerous, it could be malevolent. You know what I'm saying? How they feel towards you. This is how they feel towards you, interacting with you, interacting with your energy. And so what we're dealing with at a higher state is energy forms, or the energy of form, taking shape based on your emotional connection to something, to a thing, you know? And that is, at the higher levels, at the highest level possible that I've been to personally, it looks like Little Big Planet. If you've ever played the game Little Big Planet, if you're of my generation, you played the game. If you ever played the game Little Big Planet, you know the cover of the fucking game looks like a planet, and it's like perfectly spherical, and it's all the shit popping off of the planet, right? So when you go to look at mind in the fifth dimension and you start to delve into people's real personal shit, because once I'm on the fifth dimension and I can see your mind from that state, you can't hide anything from me. There's nothing that you can do to stop me from getting in your mind unless you know how to. I don't know anyone who knows how to. I don't even know anyone who knows how to do what I can do. Only place that I've been able to see is the Tibetan monks and all them cats that fuck with tantra. But no one has said how it looks while you're in the fifth dimension. So when you're dealing with mind and you're looking at this, it's like I'm looking at your mind. I'm looking at this sphere of shit that is just like a cloud, but it's consciousness, and it's composed of everything that you have desire, pretty much everything that you are. You know, you want to be a doctor, it'll show some fucking medical shit. Like, it was, when I tell you, it was the most real experience being able to see this, but then also to understand that I'm dealing with consciousness at a higher state, and I can, it's like you know how all of the social media sites are taking our information and just like fucking using it against us and shit like that, right? You could, like, all that information is just up for grabs, is what I'm trying to say. Literally, there's so much information out there that people don't know what to do with, and I'm talking about going to the fifth dimension and seeing people's mind at a higher state. There's so much information out there that, like, for a person like me who has access, you get what I'm saying? Like those people are doing shit to your information on the internet. Like, I'm connected to the interconnected web of consciousness. There's just a bunch of information out there laying around that you could just use, that you could just, like, and I'm not saying that I'm about to just be going out there and just fucking people's heads up. Like, that's terrible. That's not even, like, this is about consciousness. This is about raising your mind to a level of being a god, you know. But what I'm trying to tell you is that there's shit that we can do on this planet while we're still in this, you know, physical form and shit like that, that is fucking amazing. You know, the being able to see someone's mind from such a higher state, crazy. But you know, that is, in a nutshell, the journey that we're dealing with. We're dealing with a journey of consciousness. And, you know, when dealing with consciousness, it follows a certain amount of steps. And no matter what, you have to deal with the tree. You gotta deal with your human trauma before you can move the fuck on. Because once I said, like, the lowest chakras are all your human desires. The higher chakras deal with things that are intangible, feelings, energy, magic, communication, like, and everything is intangible, so you have to look at it in that way. And then when you get to the highest levels and you go beyond time and you actually go beyond the physical body to a quantum state, then we can really get to talking, because that is these bodies are, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, they're old. Like, there's no use for them anymore. I don't see the use for a body anymore. If I could, like, this is what I'm saying, as a whole people, imagine being in a world where, you know, you have access to the same amount of information. I guess not the same amount, but to an unlimited amount of information at an instant, like you do on the fucking internet. But you're at a quantum state. It's based on, you know, your experiences, being able to gauge from, you know, the interconnected web of consciousness and things. But this information, this knowing, this everything that is within you, and you are it at a higher state. I'm telling you, you niggas have, if you haven't partied with the spirits yet, you need to get you some little magic mushrooms. You know, and then, you know what? I can't even say that. That's terrible. Go to California. It's legal in California. So if you want to go to California, then do it. But you got to get you some psychedelics. It's just, or go to fucking South America. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Niggas need psychedelics, because all the books tell you the same shit. They like, you got to learn before you fuck with the drugs, right? Nigga, I've been doing this shit for 10 years. Okay? And so with that under my belt and doing that shit and practice, you know what I mean? I had already seen that this shit was real before I even thought about taking a fucking psychedelic. You know what I'm saying? Before I even dealt with taking any type of stimulant or whatever they call hallucinogen and things of that nature. Why? Because as a younger kid, I was taught to fear that shit. And that programming is fucking deep, because even when I was going to take it, my body was like, oh shit, I don't know about that. I was still like a little fucking weary. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things where, you know, right now we gotta go like turn the energy up. Like we gotta, you know what I'm saying, make this shit highlighter. And you gotta light this bitch up. You know what I'm saying? Make this shit neon in this motherfucker. Gotta light this bitch up. Like this is like the difference between doing it, putting a roast in the oven and putting the shit in the microwave or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like 5 minutes versus the rest of your fucking life. You know what I mean? Because that's what it's really going to take for you to detox your body, for you to, you know, keep yourself at a higher state of awareness. You got to move somewhere out in the fucking boonies because you got to get away from all this electrical interference to be able to have communication. The only way right now that we are going to be able to do this shit in a fast way, or right now, to get the results that you want right now, to get the understanding that you want, is psychedelic at a higher state. That's the only way. Like niggas was talking about getting powers. I remember that shit when that big ass full moon came back. Nigga, we got the powers. It's just the fact that we can't access this shit because we're at a state of awareness, nigga. Our state of awareness for most people is so fucking low. It's like to the point where like your memory fills in the shit that you can't see because you're only using 10% of your fucking mind, like of your brain or whatever. And your memory fills in the shit that you can't see. Like, did you know we can see smell? That's not something that is beyond our capabilities. You can see smell. You can also see sound. Check it out. So at a higher state, right? We can see in 4K. It means I can see all the details and shit like that. So if the particles are just vibrating at a higher rate of speed, and that's the reason that we can't necessarily see them and they're not necessarily organized, what happens when you're vibrating at a higher rate of speed? This is a hologram of unbelievable complexity. Time being 400 to 700 hertz, which keeps us in time, which keeps us in a state of hologram, in a state of a particular hologram, or in a state of in a physical state, right? 400 to 700 hertz. That means time is essentially a vibration. So if you speed up the vibration high enough, you can go beyond time. But the thing is if we're only seeing within this particular 400 to 700 vibration, a particular part of the spectrum, meaning that we're so capped and our vibration is so low that even within the spectrum of 400 to 700 hertz, we can't see everything that is within the spectrum of physicality. So what I'm saying is that smell is organized particles in a way. And when you look at smell at a higher state, you can actually see a green fucking stench line, fucking spiral going up into the sky from your toilet or some shit like that. When you get really high, you can see sound on the fifth dimension, because sound and light are one and the same. And when you play music and you go to a higher state, what you're seeing is the energy forms of bacteria or particles. You're seeing waves. So you're seeing the energy forms of bacteria, because everything in this world is bacteria, pretty much. It's a big ass ball of bacteria. And the flip side of bacteria, it is also energy. Okay? So, yeah, all provable at a higher state. You have to see it for yourself, my nigga. You can't, just take my word for it. You can't. It's damn near impossible to take my word for it. The shit sounds crazy. You have to go for yourself
And you have to have enough heart and have to have enough, have enough of that want within yourself to do so, because most regular motherfuckers ain't even gonna hear what I'm saying right now. Most regular people are just gonna fucking go to like another YouTube channel. Most regular people are gonna ask me questions that have to do with the framework of good and evil. Most regular people are gonna just tell me what I'm doing is evil. But conscious people, the people that are knowing within themselves that this isn't it, that there's something wrong, that there's something more. I mean, honestly, those people are the ones that I'm talking to. The ones who are ready. Because at this point, there's been so many scholars who have come forth with information that you don't need a basic course in symbols. You can go look that shit up on the internet. You don't need a basic course in our history, world history. You don't need a basic course in our history. There's scholars out there who do that shit, who already got the information. You know what I'm saying? You don't even need a basic occult understanding, because there's already people out there who have given, in our people, black people, who have given basic occult understandings, and how to do this shit, frameworks on how to do this shit. I'm talking to the people who we passed this shit. I'm talking to the motherfuckers who got, you know what I'm saying, got they online. I'm talking to people who online, who got their shit together, as far as their spirituality together and working that shit. You know what I mean? Pimping it, flexing that shit. You know what I mean? So, I wanted to come and just throw some fucking jewels to the people and shit like that. It was just on my mind. So, this has been another episode of Studies in the Fifth Dimension. Peace.